Welcome, everybody. I hope you're well. Thanks very much for coming. It's a beautiful evening here in Brighton. I'm going to put on the visuals now too. Welcome. Good to see you. I hope you're well. Great to see you. Thanks so much for coming. Hey. Well, let's start. Now, I've done a lot of cheering. We'll go straight in with the yoga. Why not? Cheering to yoga, that's a good idea, isn't it? Let's start by standing up, if you don't mind. I'm going to start with the feet apart, about hip width. So it's really simple. And with the arms by our sides. When we place our feet, it's really nice to actually place them, the Sanskrit word nyasa, to actually deliberately place them so that we really do have our feet level. We don't have one turned out, one turned in. And the toes are spread as well. The arms are by the sides. Instead of doing, let's concentrate a little bit on undoing. So in other words, instead of pulling the arms backwards, let's let go of what is pulling them forwards. That sort of habit. So first of all, we've got to identify that. We've got to feel it. So notice your arms getting pulled forwards, even allow them to be pulled forward so that you're not, as a person, doing something opposite. And then gradually, through the breath, begin to let go. Gradually, through the breath, begin to let go. So the eyes are soft, the jaw is soft. The gluteal creases, which is where the thighs and buttocks meet, they do what in yoga we call cutting in. In other words, they travel forwards. My gluteal creases are coming in your direction. It sounds mildly threatening. It's not meant to be. And your gluteal creases perhaps are coming in my direction. So it's this cutting in that's accompanied by a very meditative, timeless lifting up of the thighs. And that's what makes the space for the gluteal creases to cut in. So the rule in yoga is that every action is accompanied by another action. We call it married. So every action is married to another action. So when the gluteal creases cut in, the front thighs rise up. And that's because without the front thighs rising up, there's nowhere for the gluteal creases to go. It makes the space. It's subtle. It's breath-centered. In other words, we're breathing very, very freely, very, very naturally. The head is in line with the spine. The shoulders are relaxed, and we're letting go of any tension in the pectoralis that might be bringing the arms forward. But we are not letting go of it as a person doing something. It is the very paradigm of the person that causes the tension in the first place. So being someone doing something is the thing that makes the body tense, including tensing the pectoralis, and that brings the arm forward. So letting go, this beautiful meditative letting go into the moment, into the molecules of the moment. So once you understand yoga, each pose becomes a portal to the timeless. You never get bored, even if you've got, very, very restless personality. Never get bored, because, ask yourself how much of the body is occupied. Are there any parts of the body that are not occupied? Like, for example, the calf muscles. We've got the gluteal creases going deep. We've got the front thighs going up. What can we feel in the calf muscles, particularly the gastrocnemius? So the gastrocnemius is the two-headed muscle that crosses the back of the knee. It shares a muscle tendon with the soleus, another one of the calf muscles. But really try and feel, without holding the breath, into a combination of space in the gastrocnemius and pressing down through the heels. So there's this deepening of the gluteal creases. There's the gentle meditative rising of the front thighs. There's a meditative, meaning that the breath is free-flowing, opening up of the gastrocnemius that's accompanied by super meditative pressing down at the heels and a drawing up of the shins. Also meditative. The moment one becomes shallow in the breath, we're kind of not tuned in anymore. So we come back to the breath again and again. Crown of the head lifting is always a nice thing to focus on. And when you feel you're lifting up, or the crown is being lifted up, even better, then feel an accompanying sloughing off. So pulled up, sloughing off. They go together. Pulled up through the crown, sloughing off, down through the arms. And they're absolutely accompanying each other. Now, from here, we're going to bend ankles, knees, and hips. We're just going to reach down like we're lowering shopping bags. And we're going to imagine that those shopping bags have shopping of equal weight. For example, 5 oat milk cartons in each bag. Other kinds of milk are available. So heavy bags with the same weight in each bag. And then once the bags have landed, but you've still got your hands through the imaginary handles, you pull up, and of course the bag stays down, but you've got a little bit of resistance. Now, if your knees feel tight, bounce it out, or whatever works for your knees so that they don't lock out or lock in. And just pulling on those imaginary bags, so they're not actually lifting, but you're just feeling the tension on the handle as you lift up a little bit. Then let go of the imaginary bags and raise your arms up behind you. Lean the body forwards until your ribs touch your thighs. Then bending the knees, arms come forwards and up into Utkata, meaning squatting. So that could be a low squat, middle squat, a higher squat, or it can range between those. I'm hinging forwards diagonally from the hip joints. Then we're going to stand up, strong legs, big wide circle, hands to the heart center. Deep breaths, I reckon, will come now. So take a few of those deep breaths. Notice if your toes are tense, relax them. Just let your toes relax. And again, just like with the pectoralis tension, tension in the toes is associated with the 3 gurs of yoga, gripping, grasping, grabbing, which themselves are associated with a person who's gripping, grasping, grabbing, a contrived person that we believe in as a sort of societal religion. We all believe in this person called me that exists permanently through time and space without changing, that it is made of that which is made of change. So to actually really experience who we really are, the mind has to be open. A friend of mine recently said he wanted, he's got an idea that there's something more to life than he presently perceives. And he said, I want to see behind the curtain, Jim. And I said, well, what's the curtain made of? It's made of the noise that the mind makes, I suggested. And that for the curtain to drop, as it were, and the mind has to let go, then you see behind the curtain. Interlace your fingers, stretch your arms diagonally down, raise your arms up when you're ready. As the arms raise up, tone your tummy in response so that the lower back muscles get involved. Quadratus lumborum in particular, but going up through the latissimus dorsi, so right up to the arms, those big, broad back muscles, a huge latissimus dorsi muscle. Those are the muscles that if you were pulling yourself up, you'd be using the latissimus dorsi. Breathing through the nose, light tone in the tummy, toes free of gripping, and all the time spontaneous breath. Just check in as well with your neck. Just check in, make sure your neck is not tight. And to do that, check in with your breath. If your neck is tight, when aware of your neck, your breath will be tight. It's very simple, actually. Take a big, wide circle. Walk your feet towards each other until they're close or together. Spread your toes as wide as you can, as comfortably as you can. Breathe through your nose if you can. Raise up your left heel and really feel into your right foot. Now, this room where I'm practicing is carpeted, which works very, very well for some yoga poses. And it brings extra challenge to standing poses. So that's good for me. But whether it's carpeted or not, you have to really work into your foot so that there's this, how do you call it, like a gathering, some yoga. When you're ready, once that you really feel that you're gathered and you're standing on your foot, then you lift the other leg up, just as I'm doing here. Nice and easy. And then you take hold of the leg, counterbalance with the other arm, pull the leg up and out. And release the roots of the neck. So breathing is easeful and natural and honest and maybe even exciting. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Bring the arm down. If you can, take hold of your ankle and bring your foot up high into the inner thigh. Now, it's fine, I should say, to cup the knee with the foot. It's even fine to have the foot right down low on the floor, even just the heel pressing into the inner ankle. The hands can be in prayer. Really, what's great about these poses is that they're very demanding in the sense that they demand presence. You know, which is very, very useful because the mind is very good at skipping out, you know, or finding excuses, finding clever rhetoric as ways of not being present. But this kind of pose demands presence. So this, of course, is the tree pose. Okay, when you're ready, skillfully, calmly, and lovingly, bring your foot down. Take a couple of deep breaths in case you were holding the breath and just shake it off. Shake it off. I think I went very posh then. Shake it off. Shake it all off. Whatever you need, just shake off, shake off. And when you're ready, raise up the other heel similarly. Feel into your standing leg foot, the inner foot, outer foot, and across the foot, so the 3 foot arches. And don't hold the breath. So I'm moving backwards and forwards. It takes me, maybe you're quicker than me, but it takes me a while to really wake up, you know, to really wake my foot arches up instead of just the concept of them, which is what philosophers call second order reality. We need the first order reality, the direct, the pratyaksha. Yoga says pratyaksha. It's one of the prāṇāyāmas, ways that you can know things are true. Pratyaksha, it's in all systems. So there are different ways you can know things are true. Every system has pratyaksha. If ready, if you feel like there's that like engagement, then when ready, go ahead, raise your other leg, really stand firm and intelligent in the standing leg, counterbalance, pull up and out in your own time, and enjoy the excitement and always be kind. It's a good opportunity to practice humor and kindness. 2 very important parts of yoga, humor and kindness, which make you human. Okay, if you can, arm down, bring the foot to Vrikshasana, hands into the prayer pose, the Atmanjali Mudra. Sorry, the Atmanjali Mudra. I've spent years mispronouncing that word. It should be pronounced mudra. Breathing through your nose, jaw soft, eyes soft. Doesn't take any prisoners in a good way. So really, all the things we did in Tadasana, you know, same here, gluteal crease, cutting in, very, very meditative, deep cutting in, inner groin lifting, chest up and open. Great, okay. Release when you're ready, place when you're ready, breathe, I think you're ready for that, and step your feet generously with the hands on the hips. So when we step apart, it's good to have the hands on the hips because it keeps your chest broad and wide, and otherwise the arms tend to not be involved, they tend to just be caught up in various samskaras. So hands on the hips when you step the feet wide is a good practice to keep up. We're going to turn the back toes, let's say the left toes in, right foot and leg out, doesn't really matter which way you go. Turn on the ball of the foot, finish off the turn on the heel. Looking for heel to arch alignment here. So have a check and then a double check. And look to spread the tootsies, toes, and then stretch into your back leg, maybe a few times back and forth on the front leg, but stretching into your back leg as you bend the front. And what we're doing is incorporating. We're bringing more and more fibers into the action, more and more fibers. It's like fiber after fiber after fiber after fiber. And eventually the elbow might come down, the bottom ribs come forwards, top arm can stretch up and maybe over. Breath is expressive and natural and honest. I have to mention that I commonly lift my heel of the front leg, the bent leg, for a moment or sometimes for longer, upwardly, because then the top of the thigh drops more. If the heel goes up, shin goes up. If the shin goes up, the knee end or the distal end of the femur goes up. And if the distal end of the femur goes up, the proximal end of the femur goes down. And if the proximal end of the femur goes down, there's more room for the pelvis to move into the space. So that's what it does. And it incorporates more fibers. Okay, arm down, palm down, push into the leg. Use your inhale to come up. Well done. Hands on hips. Breathe through the nose. Jaw soft, eyes soft. So again, that you can see with the hands on the hips how it broadens across the collarbones. It also lifts the chest. It brings a little stretch to the psoas. In other words, it's recruiting more from the habit patterns that the body-mind tends to follow. Otherwise, it's bringing them in quite a dynamic way. Back toes in, front foot and leg out on the ball of the foot. Finish off the turn on the heel. Again, we're looking for heel to arch alignment, the same alignment. We're going to check. We're going to double check, and we're going to keep breathing. When you're ready, bend the front knee. Again, oftentimes several movements is useful because you're recruiting the nerves from their preoccupation with whatever stuck to them. In the Heart Sutra, a very, very famous Buddhist sutra, it's talked about what the mind takes hold of or what the heart takes hold of. So we're letting go of what the mind takes hold of. Repetition and breath. Keep moving and breathing. When ready, elbow down. Yeah, that looks good. Looks great. Stretch up and over if you're ready. Look up under your armpit. I'll just adjust this microphone. Look up under your armpit. Breathe through your nose. This is, of course, Pājva, meaning side. Kona, meaning angle or corner. Pājva Kona. So Pājva Konasana, in fact. Light tone in the tummy. Breathing through the nose. Jaw passive, eyes passive, brain passive, throat passive, tongue passive. Come on up with pushing into the leg and the inhale to come all the way up. Well done. Turn the feet to face forwards. Now we are going to forward fold. So if you think it's going to be easier to reach the floor with a block, walk your feet together, get yourself a block and put it in front of you. I always think it's easier to get rid of equipment during a pose than it is to get it. You know, you can have it there and then not use it, but you can't. It's much more difficult to get it when you're in the pose already. So first of all, we're going to spread the toes and we're going to turn them slightly in. Now, the way I spread my toes is to lift up the front portion of each foot several times and really spread out the molecules across the balls of the feet. It's a journey into the infinite, as Patanjali says. So you do it again and again and again. And when ready, lift from your inner groins up on the inhalation. Exhale, hinge from the hip joints. Fold over the top of the front thighs. Maybe the hands come to a block. It may be some people have got a lot of range of motion in the hamstrings, so you might not reach the block at all. Some people continue to move down, still with the hands on the hips, but most of us probably coming to blocks for our hands or a block for the hand. And so we start in either Prasrita Padottanasana Ekam, which is where the chest is parallel to the floor, or Prasrita Padottanasana Dvi, where the head faces down as a result of a pelvic tip rather than as a result of flexing over the belly button or abdominal flexion. So we don't want to be getting into abdominal flexion here. Hip flexion, yes. Abdominal flexion, not really. It's a gateway to the infinite, so whether you're up on your fingertips on a block or whether you're lower down, we're balancing
and rebalancing across the heels. And that's the journey to the infinite, that balancing and rebalancing. And the journey to the infinite works for mathematical reasons. It's all explained clearly in my book, which I've currently, over the last 2 days, I've just decided to send it to lots of publishers. So we'll see. 2 seem vaguely interested at the moment, maybe 3. Anyway, if or when that book comes out, there's others. There are little metaphors in that book that really make sense when you're practicing yoga, like the metaphor of meeting the infinite. Meeting the infinite acts like a sort of, like an endless ocean. So if I walk into an endless ocean with a handful of salt and sort of walk around a bit and then walk out again, the salt will be gone, but it's not destroyed, but it's not findable. Because of the vastness of the ocean, I can't even detect an increase in salinity because the ocean's endless. So whatever's finite meeting that is rendered to 0. It's just maths. And infinite meets the finite is rendered to 0. A couple more breaths. If you are taking the lower position, you can have the hands either on the hips as we started or on the floor, or you can hold the big toes. Some people like to do that, or the little toes, or the outer ankles. Or, of course, many of us, and it's usually the better position to be in, many of us will be instead in the position where we're keeping the chest parallel to the floor. Either way, we're all balancing our feet, and that's a beautiful infinite instruction. And I've explained the benefits of contacting the infinite. And that's just about balancing the feet. We can talk about the calf muscles and shin muscles, the back thighs and the front thighs, literally forever. The calf muscles are lengthening as the heels press down. As the calf muscles lengthen, the shins respond by drawing up, and so on. Okay, wherever we came to, back to fingertips, and we're going to walk the feet a bit closer to each other, and we'll come up that way by coming really high on our fingertips and then leading with the chest. Well done, everybody. And walk your feet back towards each other. Have a little bit of a shake out or whatever you need. We're going to come down to hands and knees, please. And once you're on your hands and knees, we're going to bring one knee about halfway along the mat and stretch the other leg back. So it's a sort of similar side stretch. So very similar in that we're stretching the side of the body to what we did the pose before last. It's important that the knee is forwards of the hip in this pose. You can see my leg is sloping quite strongly, and that's useful. Don't forget to breathe deep. Don't forget to tone your tum lightly. Jaw soft. Enjoyment. It's definitely part of yoga. Enjoyment. Bhoga. Rhymes with yoga, doesn't it? Bhoga. It's that light tone, natural breath. Good job, everyone. I really like this. It's really nice. But we're going to come out, back to hands and knees. I'm going to turn around so I can still face you. You can if you want. You can stay as you are either way. The other knee comes about halfway along the mat. So you've got that sloping action and you stretch back your other leg. And similarly, if you're ready, you stretch your arm over. Breathe, if you can, through your nose. Keep, if you can, your jaw soft and eyes soft. Enjoy, if you want, totally, like all the little nuances. That's it, you're doing great. Definitely don't hold the breath. Breathe deep, keep that tummy lightly toned the whole time. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft. From here, we're coming down and straight up into Adho Mukha Svanasana. That's the down face dog. Here I recommend padding your hands meditatively or conducing to a meditative feeling into the yoga mat, padding the palms meditatively into the yoga mat. So as again and again and again, pad them in, pad them in, pad them in. Not holding the breath, definitely opening the armpits, which is, again, a highly meditative instruction. It's not something you can tell your body, like, because that infers that you're on the outside, like you've divided reality. And the only way to engage with reality, if reality is interdependent, which it is to merge with that interdependence, not to make it independent, me and reality, two independent things. So you want to extend the armpits. That's meditation. Inner armpit, outer armpit, under armpit. And meditation is a form of absorption. You disappear. You might remember, I'm sure you do, the gluteal crease action. Something similar here. As the heel, maybe one at a time, goes back, the gluteal crease goes forwards and the front thigh goes up. It's very, very subtle. It's very subtle. And we breathe deep, top of the thighs, drawing back. Okay, well done, everyone. That's great. Come down, turn around, and stretch your legs out in front of you. Take a deep breath, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So it's very simple, nothing complicated about it. Just letting your body settle in its own way. Sitting a bit like a little kid. Kids kind of sit like this, don't they, informally? They're not trying to sit up, they just sit, And when you're ready, draw one leg back and lift it up. We're going to try to put the foot in the crook of the elbow. So you bring the foot with due care and time into the crook of the elbow. And you make sure you don't put any strain on the knee. And the way to avoid strain on the knee is to make sure it moves from the hip. And that takes a little longer. So you can't rush this. So no pain in the knee, working into the hip, keeping the angle at the back of the knee a little open can help. I know not everyone will be able to lift the leg high, but sometimes it helps to just open that angle at the back of the knee. And it's whatever height you can get, as long as you've got no knee problems and you're rocking backwards, rocking forwards, doing whatever works for you, not holding the breath, massaging it in, basically, massaging it in. So it's a bit like rocking a baby, side to side or forwards and backwards. And gradually, I hope you feel the same as me, gradually, you can get this deeper into your hip. I think you can just keep working with this. It's really beneficial, especially if you're breathing deep. And of course, this is a great preparation for eventually bringing the leg into a lotus position, but that shouldn't be done prematurely because that can cause damage to the knee if the hip doesn't do the movement. So we got to really get so deep into that hip movement, really deep. Okay, keep going with that, but let's gently release in our own time. Guide the leg out. Take a deep breath or 2, maybe a little rub down of the body and the face and the hair and whatever. Just to get yourself feeling like there's some energy moving around. And when you're ready, you know what to do. Up comes the other leg. And similarly, with the same due diligence, place without any tightness, particularly we want to avoid medially on the knee. We don't want any medial discomfort on the knee. So it could be that the foot's low or high.
If it's uncomfortable on the knee, definitely opening up the angle at the back of the knee can help. Leaning back can help. Leaning left, leaning right, leaning forward. Just start to gently open the door, as it were, so that the hip, in other words, tensor fascia lata, gluteus maximus, IT band, all begin to soften. And gradually, as we get softer, we soften, we work our way in. So deep breath, moving around, working your way in. It is, of course, a form of meditation. Okay. Yeah, we could definitely keep going with that, I think. Anyway, I certainly could. We're going to release when we're ready, and we're going to bring the soles of the feet together. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. Now, I find it very useful to push down into my hands and lift my bum actually off the floor. So you might need to use blocks for that if it's tricky. But because when you lift your bum off the floor, you lengthen the psoas, which extends to the top of your inner thighs. So from the top of your inner thighs across the lateral pubis. And so by elongating that muscle, not only do the legs release down, but the spine releases up. That makes it exponentially lighter. So you can do that as many times as you like, that lifting, repositioning, landing. I certainly find it useful to spend quite a lot of time with the weight through my hands and not too much descent in the spine. In that regard, if you do hold your feet, it's not always suitable because it depends how long your torso is and how long your arms are. You've got a long torso and not such long arms. Then it may be that it makes your chest really slump. So you can use a belt underneath your feet, a sort of short, kept short, like this sort of thing. So I've folded the belt and I've refolded it. And I'm just pulling on the belt instead of holding my feet, so that might keep your chest more open. Or you can also just not hold your feet and have the hands on the floor instead. Either way, let's spend a bit of time doing this, dwelling in this together. A little rocking left, a little rocking right. A lot of deep breaths. So the rocking is there again to melt. It's actually melting extraneous myofascia. In other words, myofascia that built because of stasis. We have these fibroblasts, specialized cells in the body that are constantly making fascial connections. Like whenever the body seems still, it's like, great, okay, let's rope it in there. And that, of course, saves energy. It's like, okay, let's just rope in. So the fibroblasts are constantly creating connection. And the more you don't move, the less those fibroblasts melt. And so they build up. And you get what seem to be big, thick layers of resistance, which of course are, like guy ropes on a tent. They support our posture, particularly if our posture tends to be of a certain kind more than others. So keep the jaw soft, keep the eyes soft, allow a bit of rocking if it helps. Definitely don't hold the breath at all. And again, this is a pose, and I've mentioned a few times over the years that I went to a friend's class in, I'm going to say 1995, and he got us to stay in this pose for half an hour, and I just, wow, I felt so amazing afterwards. That friend's name is David Ronchetti. In case you ever come across him, he lives in Japan now. I don't think he's teaching yoga anymore. But anyway, he was a very good teacher. So just breathing into it, staying soft, staying breath focused. Now, as it goes, we're not going to spend half an hour, sadly. Although, I think you could, right? So nice just to sway into it and, be intuitive. Even though the sentence "be intuitive" is an oxymoron because no one's being anything. It's the surrender of the self. When you're ready, slow, calm, easy release the legs. Now, for what we're going to do next, it may be advantageous to use a block, such as this kind of block, if you've got it. But you can substitute that for a towel or a couple of towels neatly folded into a similar shape. The legs are going to start extending out. We're sitting on a block or a towel or a couple of towels. And then with the legs extended out, we're going to simply sweep the feet over to one side like that. And just because, of course, this can be done without a block, but I think most people, probably all people, just going to feel a little bit more soft and upright. So the softness should come in the back leg. And we're going to lift and shift a bit. The shin is placed in the foot arch. The shin is placed into the foot arch. So that's important, the shin of the top leg. And that lifting and shifting, just to get everything feeling right, it already is something very special about this Bharadvajasana, Bharadvaja. It's a very, very common name in South Asian traditions. Lift and turn away from your feet without holding the breath. Breathe if you can through your nose. Keep the jaw soft and the eyes soft. Let the breath be expressive and honest. And keep letting that back leg drop, drop, drop. Drop, drop, drop the back leg. There are a host of variations on Bharadvajasana. For example, you could, instead of having your hand crossing over both legs, have it on the first leg on the inside and reach around with your back arm, which I can just about do after that motorcycle injury. Still a bit tight there, but it's getting better. And then that works very, very well, keeping the hand like that and you're clasping with the other hand, potentially, or using a belt. If that went swimmingly, you could always then take your arm to the outside of the leg, still holding it with the other hand. And that's sometimes how we see the picture of the posture in modern postural yoga classics, like the light on yoga, for example. Keep that jaw really soft. Okay, slow and calm release. It's a nice pose, isn't it? I like it anyway. I hope you do. Stretch your legs out. Take a breath. Give yourself a little rub down. Bit of vitality circulating around the body, and then over they go to the other side. Same thing. And remember, the shin of one leg is going directly into the foot arch of the other, and that foot arch is pointing across the floor. I was interested a few years ago in a trip, yoga trip to Sri Lanka, to go to a Buddhist monastery and to see sculptural representations of monks sitting around the Buddha, and they were all sitting in this position, Bharadvajasana. And then even more interesting, a few months ago, I went to a Buddhist monastery in the UK, and indeed all the monks were sitting in this position. So and Bharadvaja is a character that appears in Buddhist traditions again and again, as well as other traditions. When you're ready, keep that back leg, the one you're going to turn away from, keep it soft and down, and then lift and turn away from your back leg without lifting the back leg up. Breathe through your nose if you can. Keep those eyes really soft. That breathing really expressive. That jaw really relaxed. Eyes relaxed, jaw relaxed, brain relaxed, tongue relaxed. And just balancing, getting that sense of a timeless balancing of the spinal column, the sides of the spinal column, left balanced against the right, right balanced against the left. Natural breath, honest breath, calm brain. Again, there's the options. If you wanted to, you could keep the arm not over both legs, but on one. And if you wanted to or were able to, you could bring your back arm round and hold onto that arm, around the upper arm. And that would give us a really nice stretch on the pectoralis on the back arm. Very nice feeling, actually. Something you can really breathe into very, very naturally, very, very calmly. And again, if that felt comfortable, there's the option to take that arm right the way over both legs. It's not important to do that, though. It's just another option. What's important is that you breathe into it, that we breathe into it. Okay, slow and calm and easeful. We're going to come out of that. But when we're ready, we're going to build a little lift for some pranayama. And there's a few ways you can go about building a lift. I think a really super lift is made of brick blocks like this with a support for the head. A lot of people find that too hard, so you could cover, if you have brick blocks, you could cover that with a blanket. Another option, of course, is an actual pre-made pranayama lift. These little pranayama bolsters are super. I'm pretty sure you don't have one of those. And then the other option, there's actually two other options, is to take a blanket or towel, pleat it neatly, which is probably the option we're going for now, pleat it neatly, and then, depending on the length of the towel or blanket, you might add another on top. So what you're making is a neatly pleated blanket section or towel section, and pleated so it lays level. That's why we pleat rather than fold. And then you end up with something about this kind of width, as you can see, made out of a blanket or towel. You might want two of those, one on top of the other. And you can see that's pretty comparable to my shop bought Prāṇāyāma lift. That's the shop bought one. Very nice. It is as well. How much height you have is up to you. So you can put another one on top. I would have that extra height. I can't see another blanket in here, so I'll use my Prāṇāyāma lift. And then the other thing that's really useful and important is head support. So a big old lift with head support. And then the way you come into it, that's also important. So your bum will be on the floor. Don't rush making your lift. I'll say this all again. Your bum will be on the floor. You're going to stretch your lower back as much as you can, so that all of your lower back and none of the back of the pelvis is on the lift. And you'll notice I'm going to stretch again, because you can build on the stretches that you make before. They establish themselves, and then you can build on them. So I've got this really gorgeous, you can see how my chest is really opened, Prāṇāyāma support, and my palms are up. My head is tipping towards my heart, so it's forming a Jalandhara Bandha. So jala can mean water. Andhara, support, Jalandhara. It can even in some cases mean a net. So something, something that can hold in a net. So spend your time getting it right, getting yourself on it right as well, keeping the lower back long. I could really adjust and readjust for a couple of minutes myself and just get it so refined. Great, but don't rush, don't rush. It won't begin until you're ready. And the truth is, if you're on your lift already, some might be, then the pranayama starts automatically, naturally, in the form of rejaka puraka. Rejaka, exhalation. Actually comes from a Sanskrit root that means to throw up. So this is to throw out the breath, as it were, metaphorically. Rejaka. And puraka is to breathe in. So that's happening automatically. But what makes it different in pranayama is our awareness. So hopefully everyone's now comfortable on their lift and just noticing the breath coming in and going out. Like the tide, like waves. And I've mentioned before that as the breath comes in and out, it is like waves that lap up against a cliff face, for example. And we've all seen coastal erosion, coastal cliffs, and coastal caves, some of which can be very, very deep. Because the way that repetition of the breath or the repetition of waves can work its way through tension. So similarly, as your breath's coming in and out, any tensions within what we call the nadi system, the energy body system, it's just gently, wave after wave, eroded away. And that means that gradually our energy can spread out, expand out into the body. And we call this pranayama, which means pra, it means coming forth. Ana means breath, which comes to mean life essence, for obvious reasons. And then ayama means to not be contained, to spread out, to expand even. So as the breath's coming and going, have that feeling of the whole body is being made of energy channels, nadis, and any blockages in those channels being eroded by the constant coming in and going out of the breath. And that erosion of blockages equaling gradually deeper breaths, because the breath finds more space to move into. The energy of the breath begins to expand. Pranayama, again, means just that, energy of the breath expanding. So it ends up that gradually over time, because of the way blockages are eroded, the breath starts to become deeper. Deeper inhales. And because of the deeper inhales, the chest begins to open up gradually. The shape of the ribs becomes more open. And because of the increased openness of the ribs, the exhalation is slowed down, becomes slower. So this is called deep inhalation, and I call it cherished exhalation. It's our next station to move into in our pranayama. Deep inhalations, like I feel it deeply, and cherished exhalations, like holding somebody's hand as the train pulls off, old-fashioned train where you could put a hand through the window. And then you're running, next thing you're walking along with the train, and then you're jogging along, still holding just by fingertips now. And then the train gets too fast for you to keep up with, but both of you are reaching out, your fingers to each other, your arm to each other, so that your energy still touches. And eventually the train goes into a distance, and there's still this sort of sense of connection. So similarly, we let our breath go like that. That's what I mean by cherished exhale. Deep inhales. Cherished exhales. In yoga books, you'll see it seen as extended exhalation. It's very useful to soften more as the energy of the breath comes in. So whatever can soften as the energy of the breath comes in and touches the mind, touches the body, touches the lungs, whatever it touches softens immediately. Now, in a minute, we're going to add another dimension to this same practice. And where we've got deep inhalation and cherished exhalation, we're going to have staggered inhalation, which means it will come in little steps. So it will still be extended or deep, but it will last a bit longer, because you take a bit of the inhale, tiny pause, another bit of the inhale, tiny pause, another bit. So you might take 3 steps to an inhale, or 4 steps, or 5 steps. We're not trying to increase the amount of steps. We're trying to be passive in the pauses. So when you're ready, turn your inhales into stepped inhales. You take a bit of the inhale, pause, another bit of the inhale, pause. So gradually, like filling up a jug, you're just pouring some liquid in and just stopping, pouring a bit more liquid in. And the jug, as you pour liquid in, imagine pouring cream into a jug. It goes to the bottom, in the middle, and then spreads out. So this staggered or interrupted or paused inhalation in yoga books is usually called viloma. And doing it on the inhalation first with the cherished exhalation is called sahita, antara, internal, viloma. We want to avoid tension, so we're softening as the breath comes in, even as each stage comes in. There's no increase in pressure anywhere.
not around the eyes, not around the brain. And that's important. Two more rounds after the one you're on of this interrupted or stepped inhale, cherished exhale. Keeping soft when the breath's coming in, softer. When you've done those two breaths, we're just returning to the so-called Rejakapuraka, the sort of tidal air coming in and out, creating softness, creating release, and creating melting. Now, as gently as you can, we're going to dismount from our lift. So that means bending your legs, rolling over, retaining a head support, but moving the rest of the lift. Could be that part of the lift forms your head support. And then laying straight back down on your back. Obviously, if you need more warmth, by all means, put a blanket over you. Scoot the buttocks under. Make sure the head support is right under the skull and the top two bones of the neck. So the atlas and the axis. And then if you're comfortable to do so, extend your legs, palms face up, attention into the heart, and its eyes closed for Shavasana. So I'll allow a few moments for everyone to get there. There's no rush at all. There shouldn't be any rush. And then there's this really strong sense of the nadis, the energy channels through the whole body. It's not uncommon to visualize the energy within them as being comprised of green light. Some texts tell us there are 72,000 nadis, but of course that's just a number that really just means a lot. It's speculated that actually that number might be a corruption done in the copying of the text, which actually might have originally said thousands. But the scribe may have copied the number 72, perhaps from the page or the hymn number. So you end up with 72,000. So just sensing the whole body as comprised of energy channels. The whole body is comprised of energy channels. Slowly feel into the body with a bit of movement of the toes and the fingers.
And without any feeling of haste whatsoever, you can start stretching out the body, very, very calm, very, very relaxed. And then eventually bending your legs and placing the soles of the feet on the floor, scooting the buttocks under towards the heels, continuing to lay comfortably. And then rolling over to your left side when you feel ready to do so. Laying comfortably there. And then finally rolling to your right side. And it's from that side that we'll bring ourselves up. You'll bring yourself up from that side. And bringing yourself up to a seated prayer or position with your hands in a prayer position. And if you agree with these following words, you can say Om, which means I agree. May any benefit that we've gained interacting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of absolutely, without even one exception, all beings. Om. Really appreciate you coming. So great to see you. And I look forward to seeing you ASAP. Yeah, what can I say? It's great to see you. I should say that actually that there's an immersion, I'm running an immersion in May in Sussex. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All delicious food, camping options, really nice dorms with single-sex dorms with white company bedding. Love, yeah, and a total immersion into yoga. So if you're interested in that, it's on the Vajrasati website.